Hey everyone, this is, I don't know what video number this is, but it's about 3.5 months for me here in Zhengzhou, China. I'm gonna make this video about staring. I thought I'd revisit that subject again because my staring video that I made receives the most is the most watched video that I've done and receives the most comments. And the reason I want to go back to it is because I made that video 2 weeks into my stay in Zhengzhou, and the way I feel about it almost 4 months in versus 2 weeks in is different. I guess I would say I'm not as self-conscious, even insecure or uncomfortable. I'm still uncomfortable from time to time, and it all depends on the scenario. But the overall feeling that I had 2 weeks in is a little bit different. So I wanted to go back to that and kind of talk about it and mention some specific incidences that I find to be humorous. Okay. You will get stared at. If you are a foreigner and you come to Zhengzhou, you will get stared at. It doesn't matter what color you are. You can be white, you can be black, you can be Mexican, Brazilian, you can be from India, you can be a Kiwi, you can be a Maori. It doesn't matter. Native American, it doesn't matter. If you do not look Chinese, you're going to be stared at. I think that the lighter you are or the darker you are, the more attention you may get. So I have a story example. I was down in Archie Square. Archie Square is an area near the train station, so it gets really crowded there. And Zhengzhou is in north central China, and it is the central hub for it's a central transportation hub. So many people come through this city on the way to somewhere else. And so there are a lot of people that are down by the train station that go to Archie Square who in fact are from areas in China that have never seen a foreigner before, not in real life. And so that is where you're going to get in this city, where you're probably going to get the most reactions, like on a large scale. So for example, I was down there, and I was down there with a friend, and I was introduced to a Black American woman who has been living and traveling in China for the past 2 years. And so we greeted each other, and we met in the middle of this square. And her and I being together was probably one of the most amusing times I've ever noticed of people staring, because you could see on the people at the square, their faces, that they just could not decide who they wanted to focus on more, who they wanted to stare at more, who they wanted to examine more. They would notice her first, and then they would see me, and then their eyes would go back to her, and then they would go to me, and they go back to her, and go back to, back and forth. And the brave ones would come up and ask us if we would take a picture with them. So as you can see, it doesn't really matter your skin color. You're just different. You don't look like the majority. Once, when I was on a bus, there was a girl who took several pictures of me, and eventually she got the nerve to come up and talk to me, and she asked me for my phone number, and she was pretty starstruck. It was pretty intense, because she just could not stop staring at me, and it was almost like somebody having a crush on you. And for a while, she was even sending me text messages, calling me the beautiful, smiling girl. That's not a common occurrence. That's the only time, actually, that I've ever had someone have that intense of intense fascination, crush. I mean, I don't know how to describe it any other than a crush. Although there's not a romantic involvement in it. There's a real innocence to it that I don't know how to describe it. But like that's not a daily thing, and that was around the time that I had first arrived here. So I don't notice it as much now, or maybe I'm just used to it. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll walk by a group of people and I'll hear them say "megwa," which means American. It actually, "me" means beautiful, and "gua" means country, so it means beautiful country people. And on a side note, China is Zhonggua Ren, and that is China country people. Actually, Zhong means kingdom, Middle Kingdom, so it's Middle Kingdom people, which totally makes me think of Lord of the Rings. But obviously that's not where it comes from. It comes from ancient China, when China saw itself as the center of the world, and they saw themselves as being the kingdom. This is before the discovery of other continents. They were the Middle Kingdom. And of course, even with the discovery of other continents, most countries, I think, feel themselves to be the center of the world. So that's not an unusual feeling or thought. But the name has stuck, Zhonggua Ren. So sometimes I hear them say "megwa Ren," or I hear them see, I think it's called "degwa Ren," or "egwa Ren." People sometimes call me German or Russian. It really is just like if you walk by a group of people and they were to say "Chinese person," but I believe that they just probably don't think that you understand what they're saying. And for a long time, until maybe a couple weeks ago, I didn't know what they were saying, or if they were even referring or talking to me. So sometimes learning the language makes it a little bit worse, because now you kind of know. You know what they're saying about you. Well, all I know is they're saying nationality. I guess the thing to consider is that Zhengzhou is the most central part of China, and it's not an international city. It's not like Shanghai or Beijing or Hong Kong. It's not a tourist city. It is a transportation hub, and people come here they're either passing through here or they come here to live and work. So there's just not a lot of international commerce happening here. Not a lot of internet. Not a lot of foreigners passing in and out of this area. So there are still quite a few people who just don't see foreigners. But I think overall, the staring begins to fade away. Well, I mean, not the actual staring, but the awareness of the staring begins to fade away. And it just kind of starts to come down to the smaller things, the actual experiences, the minute experiences. So, for example, yesterday I was on the bus and and there's these two Hui women, Muslim women who are Chinese, and they're little boys, and they came onto the bus, and the little boy sat right in front of me, and the mom literally pulled him out of the seat because she wanted to sit right in front of me, and her chair is facing in front of mine, so she has to turn around. She is doing this. She's turning around and looking at me, and I had a paper in my hand, and she's leaning over and she's looking at my paper. I mean, there's no subtlety in this at all. It's very, very blatant, and it can be this close. And in fact, you may have an experience when you come here and you'll go and you'll order some food, and you sit down in the restaurant. This is in the smaller restaurants, not like a big fancy restaurant or something. And people will come out from the kitchen, and they'll stand and they'll watch you eat. And a friend of mine who lives here said the other day that she sat down and she was eating her noodles, and this elderly lady came up and sat down right across the table from her, and she sat and she watched her eat her entire meal. And so that can happen. But so these women are staring at me, and it just so happens that I'm on my way to my third Chinese lesson. The paper that I have in my hand is my Chinese homework. So I just forced this woman to speak Chinese to me because, there she is. So let's talk Chinese. So I talked to her for a little bit with the very small basic amounts that I knew, and I didn't understand the words that she said, but she did tell me that her son was shy, and she made a motion like this, he's shy, but in Chinese. I think you may feel uncomfortable at first because, well, you're different, and it feels uncomfortable to be pointed out. But I think you just have to take that in stride, and sometimes you can have these really beautiful moments with strangers. On a final note, I did meet this young man yesterday, and he has been in China, in Zhengzhou, for the same amount of time as me. Maybe we're just a day apart. And he has not, he's not enjoying his experiences here. And when I say experiences, I am talking about the staring part. So I just want to describe him physically a little bit to you before going on to say what he has told me he's experienced. So he's white like me. He's pale skin. It's a little bit lighter than my skin. His skin's very, very soft looking, like almost that ceramic kind of white, and his cheeks are really pink, like he could blush easily. He has a few freckles, and he's a strawberry blonde, and even his eyebrows are strawberry blonde colored. He's young. He looks like maybe he's 21. But I really do feel like, if Chinese people saw us walking together, they would just, see two white people. I don't think that him and I are, that different as far as coloring goes. But he says that he gets touched, that he has people touching him all the time. They're touching his hair, they're trying to touch his skin and his face, and he said try to pinch at him, at his stomach, at his waist. I do not know where he lives in Zhengzhou, because I have not, in the entire 3.5 months that I've been here, have ever experienced anything like that. I've never had anyone try to touch me, and all the other teachers that I work with, have never said that anyone has ever tried to touch them. The only time somebody tried to touch me was when I was in Shaolin, and this girl came up and she grabbed me and she pulled me into a photo, to have my picture taken with her, and then she just pushed me away so she could look at the photo. And I don't think she did that because she's Chinese. I think she did that because she's rude, just a rude girl. So this experience that this young man is having is, I think it's really rare. I don't know, maybe he lives in a neighborhood that's filled with elderly Chinese women that just moved here from the country, because I just cannot understand how this happens, because this does not happen to me. I mean, even when I was on the bus, and the Muslim woman that was sitting in front of me, her and her friend, they kept staring at my hair. I could see their eyes going up to my hair and just sort of looking at it. And I pointed at my hair, and which could be an open window for her to feel like maybe she could touch my hair. But she didn't do that. She just gave me a thumbs up. That was it. So I feel like that guy's experience is pretty rare. I don't know. Somebody would have to tell me. I've just not ever heard of that before, and have had that happen to me. So, if you're a foreigner, you're going to get stared at in Zhengzhou. But I think that this may happen to anyone, anywhere, when you stand out from the majority, that you look different. It's kind of like being the new kid at school, in a school where all the kids grew up together. You just walk down the hall and everyone stares at you, and you don't know if they're going to like you or not, or be nice to you or accept you. But eventually, unlike school, it fades. You'll still be stared at, but you just won't notice it anymore. And like I said, I think that you just need to take it in stride, and be confident knowing that there's terrible pictures of you out there on the internet, possibly with you trying to eat noodles. So try to look good every time you leave. Okay, goodbye, and I'll talk to you again. So for now, I will say 再见.